Welcome to week 7. This week we're going to be taking a look at diatonic scales and functional harmony. In the past few weeks we've been looking at how to handle dissonance, and we've been looking at canon, which is a structural compositional form of the Renaissance era. The content that we're learning this week is more common to the Baroque era when we start talking about form and function. So the first thing we need to understand is the word diatonic, and that just means a group of notes belonging to one scale. So there's not going to be any chromaticism. What does that mean? That means accidentals, that kind of stuff. It's just going to be notes belonging to a single scale. So what does that mean? We're in alto clef this week. Shout out to the violas. And I'm just going to, we've got two sharps here, so let's just make a D major scale here in note flight. So all of the notes here that you see are diatonic to D major. Now they're also diatonic to a different key. And if we took all of these notes and we lowered them by a minor third, so we just go down 1, go down 2, now we have B minor. So all of these notes are also diatonic to B minor. So how do we differentiate between whether we're in a major mode or a minor mode? We'll talk about that a little bit more with function. But there's also other kind of scales. We have the pentatonic scale. Penta means 5. So we're going to take our minor scale here. Actually, let's go back to D major. And we're going to take out 2 notes. We're going to take out scale degree 4, and we're going to take out scale degree 7. So now we have 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one duplicated. We have pentatonic scales. We have octatonic scales. That's when you alternate between whole steps and half steps. We have whole tone scales. That's when there's all whole steps. Okay, there's a lot of different scales out here, but the ones that we So I mentioned a term just a little while ago called scale degrees. And for this we need to understand scale degrees and what they are and what they mean. So if you take this D major scale and you start with D and you number it. So we're going to call this scale degree 1. And we're going to call this scale degree 2. Scale degree 3. Scale degree 4. Scale degree 5. Scale degree 6. Scale degree 7. So is this scale degree 8 or is it scale degree 1? And the answer is yes. It is both. We can use those interchangeably, but we're just going to stick with 1 in these examples. So these are all the scale degrees. If you're writing scale degrees properly, and it's hard for me to do this here in note flight, what you would want to do is use Shift 6, get this little, that's like a caret, and that thing is supposed to go above scale degree 1. That little symbol up on top of the 1 means scale degree. So same thing here with scale degree 2. Like if we were doing this properly, we would set up all of these little carets. All right, that's more technically correct than what we had. Scale degree 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. And that's what we have for our major scale. There are other terms for these scale degrees too. One is referred to as the tonic, 2 is the supertonic, 3 is the mediant, 4 is the subdominant, 5 is the dominant, 6 is the submediant, 7 is the leading tone, and this one's super important. The leading tone is super important. And then we have tonic again. And it's not important that you understand the names of these. The numbers are useful. But the names imply harmonic function. And if we want to start going past just 2 voices, if we want to go into 3 voices, 4 voices, etc., we need to start understanding harmonic function and implied harmonic function. So we need to look at these scale degrees and figure out which ones are stable and which ones are not stable. The stable scale degrees are 1, 3, 5, and that's it. Now, what do you notice about that? It's an arpeggio, right? That's the D major arpeggio. We call this the tonic arpeggio because it starts on scale degree 1. So when we have scale degree 1, it implies something. It's not just a note. It implies that we have these other notes too. That we have the whole chord here, the whole tonic chord. And any note in the tonic chord is going to be stable. And the ones that aren't in the tonic chord are not stable. So there are pitch tendencies outside of the tonic chord. And I'm going to bring this up here in Notepad. So 1 is stable. Scale degree 2 likes to go to scale degree 1. That's its tendency. 3 is stable. Scale degree 4 has a strong tendency to go to scale degree 3. 5 is stable. 6 tends to go to 5. And this is the most important one, the leading tone. 7 likes to go to 1. And that's where our ear hears which key we're in, is because. So now that we know that each scale degree implies a harmonic function, we have to understand the function of the chords themselves. And this is going to be the topic of next week's lesson primarily, but we need to understand which chords can go to what. And we have this guide right here. And for next week, I'll post it in Schoology. But for right now, we're going to be concerned with the tonic and the dominant, or the 1 chord and the 5 chord, and how that works with our phrasing and functional harmony. So 3 can go to 6. 6 can either go to 2 or 4. 2 or 4 can go to 5 or 7. And 7 can go to 3. And then 5 can also go to 6. There's an arrow missing here, but I'll fix that. And then 5 and 7 can go to 1. 1 can go to anything. So these are how our chord progressions work. If they go the opposite way, that's called a retrogression, and that's not good. So if we just play everything like this, it sounds not good. I mean, it doesn't sound terrible, but it's just, look, there's parallel fifths everywhere, and this is not how chords typically progress. It's just kind of like this planing thing. It's an interesting effect, but it's not what we're used to hearing in music. So this week we're going to be focused on the dominant chord, scale degree 5. For this week, we're going to be writing another 4-measure melody, but this time it's going to have implied function. So it's going to be more of a Baroque melody than a Renaissance melody. We're going to still follow our good melody rules from weeks 1 and 3, but I want you guys to use a specific rhythm. The rhythm I want you guys to use is quarter, 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 and then measure 2, quarter, quarter, measure 2. I want beat 3 to be a half note. That's going to be your first phrase. Your second phrase is going to have the same rhythm. I'm just going to copy paste because that's faster. Same rhythm as the first phrase. The first phrase is going to be called an antecedent phrase. And the second phrase is going to be called the consequent phrase. And we can think of this as a question and an answer. So we have a phrase that goes to here, and that's going to be the end of our question. And then we have a phrase that goes to here, and it's going to be our answer. So if we look at our chord chart here, the resolution is always to 1. So that's going to be our answer. So the question is going to be 1 to 5. So your antecedent phrase should end with the 5th scale degree. So what is the 5th scale degree? That's going to be A, which is scale degree 5. And this one needs to be scale degree 1. Now here, as long as you follow the good melody rules, you can do anything you want. But you need to emphasize this A here to make what we call a cadence, or a stopping point here. So we're going to emphasize this, and that phrase is over, but the piece can't be over because we're not finished yet. We haven't had a conclusive phrase. Then we need this consequent phrase, which is going to emphasize the tonic note, or scale degree 1. So we have a phrase that ends on the dominant, emphasizes the dominant. That's our antecedent. We call that a half cadence too. That's another way to say it. And then consequent phrase, which is going to end on the tonic. That's going to be what we call an authentic cadence, and that's going to be more conclusive and end the piece. So we have question and answer. Everything else, these other 6 notes are up to you, but these notes should stay the same. This one, we could go up. It doesn't have to be this D. It could end up on the high D. That might work better for a lot of you guys. But do follow the good melody rules. We don't want any dissonances and all that. And make sure that it is diatonic, no accidentals. You can use any key you like. Yeah, go ahead and have fun with this. And next week, we're going to learn how to harmonize using multiple voices. So we're learning